Am I the a-hole for emptying out my dad's estate, basically making his will useless? I, 48 male, have helped my father keep his business afloat for years. I didn't mind. His support when I was young is the only reason I am where I am in life financially. I was able to graduate debt-free and start my own business straight out of university. My stepmother, on the other hand, was never my biggest fan. She thought I should have done more for her and her sons. I was already out of the house when my father married her, so I never felt like I owed her anything, much less her useless kids. Both of my stepbrothers ended up working for my dad's company, but they are useless. They spent most of their time servicing clients, taking clients to lunch and golfing with them, stuff like that. My dad needed help a few times, and rather than let him go under or go to the bank, I gave him loans at a very low interest rate. That way, if he couldn't pay me back, I could write them off as bad debt and get a tax deduction. I know now that he never mentioned the loans to her or her kids. And when I say kids, these are men in their 30s. My dad got sick 2 years ago, and my stepbrothers actually had to work. The company was pretty solid by then, and they couldn't screw it up too badly. My dad and his accountant were still in day-to-day control. He just couldn't go into the office. 6 months ago, my father rewrote his will. He left everything to my stepmother and stepbrothers. I was left token sentimental gifts. I don't need the money, but I could smell the BS. So I sold my loans to a business competitor of my father with the provision that I would personally make the payments until my dad passed away. So basically, they get the company when my dad died, and I got my money back. I was happy. When my dad passed, I got my stuff from his estate, just photo albums and other things of that nature. My stepmother got the house and a retirement fund, and the three of them got the company. They came to me about the loans after they figured out how much my dad owed me. They wanted to keep the same deal, basically 1% interest, and really lax views on collecting payments. I told them that I had already divested myself of any involvement with my dad's company, and that they had to deal with a different creditor who would probably want to collect in full or renegotiate. They think I'm an a-hole for saddling them with debt instead of the solvent cash cow they thought they were getting. It's still a viable company, and they can go to a bank themselves and get a loan to pay it off. Then they have a company that has debt payments to make. Lots of good companies are like that. Also, I think I exaggerated in the title. I didn't empty out the estate. My stepmother has enough money to last her until she dies, unless she spends it foolishly on herself and her sons. And my stepbrothers both share a good company that has an excellent accountant. If they actually decide to work, it will support them and their families forever. Now for the top comments. So let me get this straight. Your stepmother took everything from your father's estate, leaving you with nothing. And she's complaining that she's getting the raw deal? You must know you're not the a-hole. I had already received a large inheritance when my mom passed away years ago. All my dad really had was the house, some savings, and the business. And like I said, the business will require actual work to function. If they are smart, they will sell everything to the company that holds their debt now, then go find regular jobs. So your dad got really sick, then changed his will to favor the new family massively. Sounds coercive. Not the a-hole at this point. If you wanted to be seen as an a-hole but still be within reason, I would look into seeing if your father was poisoned, then nullify the new will. Who said he was coerced? Men are notorious for favoring the new wife's kids to keep her happy. He knew I didn't need the money. He was the one who let me know about the will. This debt is only about 15% of my net worth, and it was worth it while my dad was alive. Lol, I love the pettiness of selling the debt to a competitor. Power move, not the a-hole. He was my dad's old business partner, but they had a falling out. I'm pretty sure his plan is just to consolidate the two companies. My dad's has some excellent contracts and assets. I'm failing to see how it makes sense. There has to be some important detail missing. If the original loan was for 1% interest, then OP would have lost money on it due to inflation. Granted, he's doing his dad a favor, but how does he sell that loan to a new creditor in a way that would make any sense for the new creditor to buy such a loan? The new holder of the loan can't unilaterally change the terms of the original loan, so he too would be losing money to inflation. The guarantor of the loan passed away. That triggers repayment. If I held a loan, they could pressure me or try to make me look bad to my family. Now my hands are clean. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé he's not getting any of my inheritance for a new car? I lost both of my parents. My dad passed away about a decade ago, and my mom died a few years after that. I was there when she passed. I had to try to save her, and I couldn't. That kind of experience doesn't fade with time. It settles into you and becomes something you carry, whether you want to or not. A few months ago, I received a payout I wasn't expecting. It turned out there was an old pension connected to my mom that no one knew about. It wasn't a life-changing amount, but it was significant. When I found out, it hit me harder than I expected. This was it, the last tangible thing I would ever receive from my parents. No more surprises, no forgotten accounts, no final letters. This was the end of that chapter, financially and emotionally. My fiancé and I got engaged last summer. We've been together for a long time and bought a house together about a year and a half ago. Every bit of savings we had went into that house, so wedding planning has been on hold. We've always kept our finances completely separate. Everything is split down the middle, even though he earns more than I do. That's how it's always been, and it's something we both agreed on early in the relationship. When this money came in, my first thought wasn't practical, it was emotional. I thought, finally we can have a wedding. It felt like my parents were giving me one last gift, a way to be present for something they'll never get to see. For the first time since losing them, the money didn't feel like money. It felt like love, like closure, like something deeply personal. His first thought was a new car. He brought it up almost immediately. He suggested we use some of the money to get him a better vehicle. That stopped me cold. I bought my own car last year on finance. I saved for the deposit myself and never asked him for a cent. I didn't even consider asking because that's not how we've ever handled money. I tried to explain why this felt different. This wasn't savings I built up through work. It wasn't shared income. It was the last connection I have to my parents. But he keeps brushing that off, acting like money is money, and saying that since we're getting married, it should be shared. But we're not married yet, and even if we were, we've never shared finances before. So why does he suddenly feel entitled to this now? I told him no. I was clear and firm about it. Since then, things have been tense. He says I'm being selfish. I say he isn't entitled to my inheritance, especially when he wants to spend it on something solely for himself. Now I'm left questioning everything. Not just this argument, but what it says about our values, our boundaries, and how he views my grief. So am I the jerk for wanting to keep this money for something meaningful to me, rather than handing it over for his benefit? I think the last gift from your parents is showing you who you are about to marry. Take it as a sign and act accordingly. If he can't respect this now, tying your future to him financially or emotionally is gonna be a nightmare. Oh yeah, this dude is one selfish MF who has zero respect for OP. It's like her parents are reaching out from beyond with a giant megaphone, screaming for their daughter to run. First of all, I find it appalling that this a-hole refuses to split the bills proportionally to what he and OP earn. If he wants to pull the almost married card, then he should have been treating OP like his partner, not his roommate. Where was he while his lower-earning partner was skimping and saving for the down payment on her new car? He was sitting by, watching while basically taking advantage of OP. And now he thinks he's entitled to her final gift from OP's parents? Oh hell no, OP. She needs to nope out of this relationship before she's tied herself any further to this massive a-hole. Not the jerk. He makes more than you, only pays half the shared expenses. Didn't even offer to help you get a new car. And now he's demanding that you buy him a new car with your inheritance, instead of using that money to get married. 99.999% of the replies to this post are telling you to walk out on this man, and they're absolutely 100% right. Your mom didn't just leave you some money, she is also saving you the cost of your inevitable divorce from this selfish, manipulative jackass. Next story. Am I the jerk for kicking out relatives after I came back from a work trip? I'm a woman in my late 20s, and I live alone in a small but very cozy apartment that I worked hard to afford. A few months ago, I had a long work trip planned, almost 3 weeks, and around that time some distant relatives reached out. They were visiting the city for personal reasons and asked if they could stay at my place for a bit. We are not close. I see them maybe once every couple of years at family gatherings, but my mom pushed me a little and said it would be the right thing to do. I agreed, with very clear rules. No parties, no extra guests, clean up after yourselves, and treat it like it's not yours. While I was away, they sent a few polite messages, thanking me again and saying everything was fine. I honestly didn't think much about it because I was busy with work and deadlines. When I finally came back home, I opened the door and instantly felt my stomach drop. The apartment smelled bad. Trash bags were piled near the door. Dishes were stacked in the sink like they hadn't been washed for days. My couch had stains. My bathroom looked like a public restroom, and some of my personal items were moved or used without asking. One of my plants was completely dead too, which sounds stupid, but it really upset me. I confronted them right away. They laughed it off at first, saying they didn't have time to clean yet and that I was overreacting. That really hit a nerve. I told them this wasn't what we agreed on and that I wanted them to leave. Not in a screaming way, but very firm. They got offended and said family doesn't kick family out like that. I told them family also doesn't trash someone's home. They packed up and left the same day, clearly angry. After that, things got worse. Apparently, they told the rest of the family their version, that I threw them out without warning, that I was cold and selfish, and that I cared more about my apartment than about people. Now I'm getting passive-aggressive messages. Some relatives stopped talking to me, and my mom says I should have handled it more gently. I feel guilty sometimes, but at the same time, I feel like my boundaries were completely ignored. Am I really the jerk here? I didn't expect to come back to a mess like that, and I honestly felt disrespected. Maybe I could have been calmer, but in that moment, I was just done. Send pictures to everyone if you haven't cleaned yet. Yeah, I wish I had. I was too overwhelmed and just started cleaning right away. I couldn't sleep or unpack with trash and smells everywhere, so fixing it felt more urgent. Send them a detailed description of every disgusting thing you had to clean and why. If they still defend the behavior, cut their sorry asses off. And check and freeze your credit. These a-holes have had a lot of access to your information. Who cares what worthless relatives think of you? One less $14 gift card at Christmas? Block and ignore. How did they get in? Change your password and/or locks. Yeah, blocking sounds tempting some days. They had my key. I never thought they'd disrespect my place this much. Definitely rethinking who gets access now. I have let my mom alone, or both my parents, stay in my apartment when I've traveled. I stopped doing it after the third time, when I came home and couldn't find things. My mom has a habit of cleaning and moving things, which includes throwing things out that shouldn't be thrown out. I don't really even like having my parents visit in my apartment because my mom can't help herself. And to note, it's not like my apartment is a disaster or extremely dirty, just a bit cluttered because it's small. I'd be very hesitant to let family members I didn't know well stay in my place without me. You had every right to ask them to leave and be pissed at what you came back to. You did them a favor and they disrespected you and your space. I'd probably change my lock since they had a key and reconsider letting family stay when you aren't home, especially family you don't know well. Not the a-hole, but your family is. They were disrespectful to you and your space. Ask the flying monkeys if they'd be happy to come home to a dirty, smelly, trash-filled apartment with their stuff moved, used, and gone, when they did family a favor and let them stay, and I'm assuming saved them a lot of money. Also, I'd charge them for the cleaning and any damage they caused to the apartment, furniture, and personal items they used without permission. And if there is a next time, always document everything. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that's why you should get a job after she told me people shop a lot more than she does? So my wife and I are in our late 30s. We've been married for 13 years, and she's been a stay-at-home mom that whole time, other than doing a short Grubhub gig for a few months. She made the decision to be a stay-at-home mom because she wanted to spend time with the kids and not miss anything, even though when we were dating, she said she wanted to work. And I expressed wanting to be a dual-income household. One child is mine biologically, the eldest is not. They are 14 and 11. Yesterday, my wife went to the mall shopping, and when she came back, She said, "You should have seen all those people with a lot of bags spending over $800. And here I was spending only $100. I felt poor." I told her, "Well, if you feel poor, maybe it's time for you to get a job." She went silent and walked away. For reference, I make $130,000 at my job after taxes, and we live in a low cost of living city with modest expenses. I give her $1,000 a month in fun money, and she feels it's not enough anymore. We have a separate fund for gifts. The fun money is purely for fun. This trip to the mall was just shopping for herself. I could increase her allowance, but I think it's reasonable as it is, so I just throw the extra into investing. She's always saying how we should invest less and spend more, but I disagree. She often shows me her friends on vacation, their wives shopping, or what new car their husbands bought them, etc. And I always say the same thing. Most of those wives work jobs too, and she doesn't, so I feel it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. Am I the a-hole? Guess who's not at the mall spending anything? Poor people. Her dad is said as flawed. Also, the working at the mall. My personal theory, she doesn't need more money. She needs more to do. I'm not sure I could spend $1,000 a month in fun money, but I work full-time and don't have time to spend thinking so much about myself. Ding ding ding. She originally wanted to be a stay-at-home mom so she didn't miss her kids growing up, except now they are at the age where adolescents demand independence and autonomy, in addition to their friends becoming the primary influences on their personality and behavior. So she's not necessarily as present as she once was. She needs to learn a hobby or get a job if it's bothering her that she can't show off material wealth, since not shopping more often is preventing her from receiving that temporary dopamine hit. Justified, not the a-hole. She could be working a job remotely from home during the many hours the kids are in school. What does she do all day? She does yoga with her friends, then they go have brunch. Then she'll run errands, clean or go shopping, and then cook dinner.